An elderly couple had dinner at another couple's house, and after eating, the wives left the table and went into the kitchen. So Stan and Irv were talking, and Irv says, "Last night we went out to a new restaurant, and it was really great. You gotta try it, Stan." Stan asks, "What's the name of the restaurant?" Irv knits his brow in obvious concentration, and finally says, "Hey, Stan, what's the name of that red flower you give to somebody?" "A carnation." No, the other one," Irv says. "Tulip?" "No." "Poppy?" "No," Irv says. "You know, the one with the thorns." Stan says, "You mean a rose?" "Yeah, that's it. Thanks," Irv says. He then turns toward the kitchen and yells, "Rose, what's the name of that restaurant we went to last night?" One dot dot dot. The first one married a woman from Minneapolis and said to her, "When I get back from work, I want the house to be clean and tidy." He didn't see any changes on the first day, but on the second day the house was clean and tidy. The second brother married a woman from Dallas and said to her, "When I get back from work, I want the house to be clean, the laundry done, and have food ready on the table." On the first day, he didn't see any changes, and not on the second day either, but on the third day, it was as he had asked. The third brother married a woman from Detroit and said to her, "When I get back from work, I want the house to be clean, the laundry done, and have food ready on the table." On the first day, he didn't see anything, and not on the second or third day either. On the fourth day, he could see a little bit with his left eye, and had just enough mobility in his right hand to make himself a sandwich. Irende, a poor boy but very brave man called Ali. He worked for Amar, a rich old merchant. One winter's night, Amar said, "Nobody can spend a night like this on top of the mountain without a blanket or food. But you need money, and if you can manage to do that, you will receive a great reward. If you don't, you will work for 30 days without pay." Ali answered, "Tomorrow I shall do this test." But when he left the shop, he saw that a really icy wind was blowing and became scared, so he decided to ask his best friend, Adi, if it was crazy of him to accept that bet. After reflecting a while, Adi answered, "I shall help you. Tomorrow, when you are at the top of the mountain, look ahead. I will be on the top of the mountain next to yours, where I will spend the whole night with a bonfire lit for you. You look at the fire and think about our friendship. That will keep you warm. You will manage, and later on, I shall ask you something in return." Ali won the test, got the money, and went to his friend's house. "You told me you wanted some payment." Heidi answered, "Yes, but it isn't money. Promise that if at any time a cold wind passes through my life, you will light the fire of friendship for me." Three dots. Teacher. "What's 1 minus 1? Johnny. 1 minus 1? Teacher. "Yes. If you subtract 1 from 1, what do you get?" Johnny. 1. Teacher. "No." Johnny. "Try again." Johnny. 2. Teacher. "Okay, let's do it this way. If you have only 1 potato chip left in a frying pan and you take it out of the pan..." Johnny. "I know the answer. Cooking oil." Nange. A teacher noticed that little Johnny, who was sitting at the back of the class, was squirming around, scratching his groin, and not paying attention. She went back to find out what was going on. Little Johnny was quite embarrassed and whispered that he had just recently been circumcised and he was quite itchy down there. The teacher told him to go down to the principal's office. The principal told him to telephone his mother and ask her what he should do about it. He did and returned to his class. Suddenly, there was a commotion at the back of the room. The teacher went back to investigate, only to find little Johnny sitting at his desk with his private part hanging out. The teacher demanded, "I thought I told you to call your mom." Little Johnny replied, "I did, miss, And she told me that if I could stick it out till noon, she'd come and pick me up from school. A general store owner hires a young female clerk with a penchant for wearing very short skirts and thong panties to work the counter. One day, a young man enters the store, eyes the clerk, and glances at the loaves of bread behind the counter. Noticing her short skirt and the location of the raisin bread high on the shelves, he has a brilliant idea. "I'd like some raisin bread, please," the man says politely. The clerk nods and climbs up a ladder to reach the raisin bread, and the young man, standing almost directly beneath her, is provided with a magnificent view, just as he had hoped. Once she descends the ladder, he muses that he really should get 2 more loaves, as he is having company for dinner. As the clerk retrieves the second loaf of bread, another male customer notices what is going on. Thinking quickly as the clerk again descends to the counter, he requests his own loaf of raisin bread. With each trip up the ladder, the young lady seems to catch the eye of yet another male customer. Pretty soon, each fellow in the store is successively asking for raisin bread, just to see the clerk climb up to the top shelf. After a few trips, the clerk is tired and irritated. Finding herself yet again atop the ladder, she stops and fumes, glaring at the men standing below. She notices an elderly man standing amongst the throng, staring up at her. Thinking to save herself a trip, she yells down, "Is yours raisin too?" "No," croaks the feeble old man, "but it's starting to twitch." Sorta. An elderly woman arrives at the supermarket checkout line with bread, milk, peanut butter, and 21 cans of cat food. The cashier says, "Got a lot of cats at home?" Smiling. The woman replies, "Cats? Oh no, dear, I'm allergic. These are for my husband. It's all he will eat." The cashier, shocked, says, "You feed him only cat food? He'll die." The woman snaps back, "I've been feeding him cat food for 50 years, and he's absolutely fine. Thank you very much." Mind your own business. A week later, the same elderly woman approaches the same cashier with bread, milk, peanut butter, but no cat food. The cashier asks, "No cat food this week?" The woman replies, "No, my husband's dead." The cashier says, "I'm sorry, but I told you eating nothing but cat food would kill him." The woman, smirking, says, "For your information, it wasn't the cat food. He was licking his bowls and fell off the roof." Sat Deshumlov. While a soldier was deployed overseas, he received a breakup text from his girlfriend. In the message, she admitted that she had been with 2 other guys while he was away and wanted to end the relationship. To add insult to injury, she also asked him to delete the nude photo she had sent him. Not one to let the situation get the best of him, the soldier decided to have a little fun with it. He went around to his fellow soldiers and asked them for all the photos they had of exes, flings, or just random women they had on their phones. After collecting more than 25 photos, he texted them all to his ex, along with hers, and sent this message: "I'll delete your photo like you asked, but I can't remember which one it is. Could you let me know which one's you so I can take care of it?" Yet, the prenatal education classroom hummed with quiet focus as expectant mothers practiced labor breathing techniques, their partners dutifully following the instructor's guidance on how to offer support. The atmosphere was serene until one well-meaning dad-to-be brought the comic relief. With warm professionalism, the instructor advised the group, "Staying active is crucial during pregnancy. Walking is one of the safest and most beneficial exercises. And partners, joining her on those walks is a wonderful way to bond and show solidarity." A thoughtful pause followed, until one man raised his hand with an earnest question. "Would it be okay if she carried my golf bag while we walk?" Cue the collective gasp-turned laughter from the moms. the instructor's wide-eyed pause, and the other partners face-palming in solidarity. Somewhere, a pregnant woman sighed and added, "Divorce papers," to her baby registry checklist. 9. A man who drank too much was given an ultimatum by his wife. "If you ever come home drunk again, I'm leaving you." That very night he went to the pub, got plastered, and threw up all over his shirt. Panicking, he told his friend, "If I go home like this, she's gone." His friend said, "Relax. Put a £20 note in your jacket pocket and tell her someone else puked on you and gave you money for dry cleaning." Genius. He stumbles home. His wife sees the mess and starts yelling. But he holds up a hand. "Wait, wait! Someone was sick on me, and he gave me £20 for the dry cleaning." She reaches into his jacket and pulls out two £20 notes. She narrows her eyes. "Then what's the second one for?" He shrugs. "Oh, that's from the guy who pooped in my pants." "But, plumber, we repair what your husband fixed. Sign at the psychic's hotline. Don't call us, we'll call you." At a towing company, we don't charge an arm and a leg. We want towels. Appropriate action. On maternity room door. Push, push, push. At an optometrist's office. If you don't see what you're looking for, you've come to the right place. On a taxidermist's window. We really know our stuff. In a podiatrist's office. In a veterinarian's waiting room. Be back in 5 minutes, sit, stay. In a restaurant window. Don't stand there and be hungry. Come on in and get fed up. But then under 3 technicians guys go into an interview for a job at the local telephone company. They were all 3 great candidates and very well qualified. The boss brings them into the office and says, "Okay, you 3 look the best on paper, but I gotta know if you have what it takes for the day-to-day work. So I'm gonna give you 1 day to impress me. Set as many telephone poles as you can, and report back tomorrow." They all 3 go to work setting poles and return the next day into the boss's office. The boss asks one by one how many they set. The first guy said 13. "Wow, 13? That is impressive." The boss tells him, happily. The second guy set 9. "Well," said the boss, "not as good as the first guy's, but still it is impressive." He turns to the third guy. "How many did you set?" the boss asks. 2. The man replies triumphantly, his blonde hair waving in the wind. 2. "That's it?" The manager was shocked. "That's barely any. What were you doing all day?" "Well, I didn't want to have to be a snitch. But these other guys, they only put theirs halfway in the ground." But nirrande, a couple went out for breakfast at a restaurant offering the seniors special. 2 eggs, bacon, hash browns, and toast for just $2.99. "That sounds great," said the wife, "but I don't want the eggs." "Well, then I'll have to charge you $3.49 since you're ordering a la carte," the waiter informed her. "You're telling me I have to pay more for not taking the eggs?" she asked, surprised. "Yes, ma'am," the waiter confirmed. "Fine, I'll take the special," the wife said. "Perfect. How would you like your eggs?" "Raw, in the shell," she answered. She took the eggs home and used them to bake a cake. Moral of the story: don't mess with seniors. We've been around long enough to know a thing or two. Badimundra pulli pulli pulli. John worked hard to support his family, and for his birthday, his wife decided he deserved a special treat. She blindfolded him and took him to a local strip club. When they arrived, the doorman greeted them with a friendly, "Hey, John, how you doing?" Confused, his wife removed the blindfold and asked if he had been there before. "Oh, no," John replied casually. "He's one of the security guys I meet on my business trips." Once they were seated, a waitress approached and asked John if he wanted his usual drink, bringing him a Budweiser. His wife's discomfort grew as she questioned, "How did she know you drink Budweiser?" John shrugged, saying, I recognize her. She's the waitress from the bar around the corner from my office. I stop by for a bud every Friday, honey. Suddenly, a stripper approached their table, wrapped her arms around John and purred, Hi, Johnny. Want your usual table dance, big boy? Fuming, his wife grabbed her purse and stormed out of the club. John quickly followed, spotting her getting into a cab. Just as she was about to slam the door, he jumped in beside her. Wait, it's a misunderstanding. She must have confused me with someone else, he pleaded, but his wife was having none of it. She yelled at him, unleashing a torrent of four-letter words. The cab driver turned around, eyebrows raised, and remarked, Geez, John, you really picked a winner this time. 14. After being away on business, Tim thought it would be nice to bring his wife a little gift. How about some perfume? He asked the cosmetics clerk. She showed him a bottle costing $50. That's a bit much, said Tim, so she returned with a smaller bottle for $30. That's still quite a bit, Tim complained. Growing annoyed, the clerk brought out a tiny $15 bottle. What I mean, said Tim, is I'd like to see something cheap. The clerk handed him a mirror. 15. A woman had terrible dreams. One night, she woke up screaming at the top of her voice. She screamed, Oh my goodness, honey, help me, honey. Her husband woke her up and said, Baby, what's wrong? She said, Honey, I just had the worst dream. Her husband asked, What did you dream about? She said, I dreamed that I was at the top of Niagara Falls. I was looking down at the falls, and I got dizzy. I started falling down, and some kind gentleman threw out a long rope to me. I grabbed hold of that rope, and that's what saved me. Her husband said, Yeah, I know, darling. Now turn loose of that rope and let's go back to sleep. 16. An old lady went into a bar in Ibiza and saw a man with his feet propped upon a table. He had the biggest boots she'd ever seen. The old woman asked the man if it's true what they say about men with big feet being well endowed. The man grinned and said, Sure is, little lady. Why don't you come to my apartment and let me prove it to you? The old woman considered she might never get an offer like this again, and was curious to find out for herself, so she spent the night with him. The next morning she handed him a £50 note. Blushing, he said, Well, thank you, I'm really flattered. Nobody has ever paid me for my services before. Don't be flattered, she replied. Take the money and buy yourself some boots that fit. Women can be so cruel. By the near, a guy was walking through the Sahara Desert, desperate for water, when he saw something far off in the distance. Hoping to find water, he walked towards the image, only to find a little old man sitting at a card table with a bunch of neckties laid out on it. The guy asked, Please, I'm dying of thirst. Can I have some water? The old man replied, I don't have any water, but why don't you buy a tie? Here's one that goes nicely with your shirt. The guy shouted, I don't want a tie, you idiot. I need water. Okay, don't buy a tie. But to show you what a nice guy I am, I'll tell you that over that dune there, about 5 miles down, there is a nice restaurant my brother runs. Go over that way. They'll give you all the water you want. The guy thanked him and walked away, towards the dune, and eventually disappeared. 3 hours later, the guy came crawling back to where the old man was sitting behind his card table. The old man said, I told you, about 5 miles over that dune. Couldn't you find it? The guy rasped, I found it. They wouldn't let me in without a tie.